For those of you who have been to a quadrennial training in past years, this is the point where you would already have gone through registration, you would have already gone and picked up your goodie bag, and you would have picked up your name badge. So for those of you who are missing some of those normal things, and since you are annual conference secretaries and probably are more prone to keeping things than a lot of people, I will let you know that I found my name tag from the last one, and I'll put it on just so you'll feel like we're at home and we've actually gone through the right process and we're looking right. So secretaries never throw away anything. That's the reason they give us all the things that have to be archived and kept forever. So we'll be talking a little bit later in the process about some of the things that you might want to keep and some of the stuff that you probably could get rid of and not have to worry about it too much. But in the midst of everything not being normal, maybe there's a little glimmer of something that looks a little more like normal for some of you. If you would, let's open with a word of prayer as we get started. We thank you, loving God, for the day that you have shared with us, for this time to gather even in a new way. Although for most of us, it's not feeling as new anymore, and in fact is feeling a bit old and maybe not our favorite way to communicate. But for others, it is exactly in their wheelhouse. And we thank you that we are not all exactly alike and that we all do things using the gifts that you have given to us. We pray that you will help us to find our structure and to find our ways in which we are able to adapt in so many situations that are before us. Lead us, guide us, be with those who are unable to be with us. Give peace and comfort where it is needed in the chaos, discord, or pain of people's lives. And remind us of our purpose, not only in this role, but as your disciples. For it's in your name we pray. Amen. So for many of you, it is good morning. For a few of us, it's just barely afternoon. And so welcome as we gather. I am not one who is accustomed to talking into the camera with a blank set of faces, blank sounds. And so talking into nothingness is a little out of my wheelhouse. Generally, whenever I'm doing these presentations, you're right there in front of me, or the body is out there at tables all the way around. And so as many of us adapt and as many of us figure out new ways to do things, this is one of those. So even though they ask us to keep our microphones muted, remember that that is probably what makes most of us uncomfortable, that we can't hear anyone else. And so we will be hearing one another at a time, one at a time. Want to remind you that this session is being recorded. It will be distributed to rewatch or to share after the event is over. And the details for how to access that will be given to you in the follow-up emails. Just as a matter of housekeeping, you have started to see some information from her in the chat, but Sarah Hotchkiss, who is the business manager for General Conference, is also a GCFA employee. And so she has been tasked, along with all the others, to serve as chat moderators and tech support in each of our rooms. So Sarah is here. And Sarah, do you want to give us any instructions?
Yes, good morning or afternoon to all of you. I'm here in Thompson Station, Tennessee, just south of Nashville. I put in the chat a few housekeeping notes just in case you do have technical issues. Also, for those of you who want to access it, especially in the upcoming presentations, the Annual Conference Secretary Handbook is now on the event website. And so you can go and reach out and get that. Gary will be working through that workbook through his sessions. Feel free to, if it's for the good of the group, then do chat to all. If you just have something simple, technical, you can always just send me a direct message. But probably if you have the question related to the content, I'm guessing there's somebody else who has the question. So feel free to put that in the chat. And If it's coming up in another session, we'll let you know. Otherwise, we'll try to answer them as best as we can. All right. Enjoy your training.
One of the pieces that we normally do in a room when we're all gathered, and I did not really see a reason not to do it in this format, is to introduce ourselves and let everybody know who we are, what we're doing, and why we're in this room together. So even though the room is now on your screen, I do want to go through that process. And I'm going to ask Sarah, she's got some information to put into the chat if you need a reminder. To answer these questions as you go around and introduce yourselves. I'd like to hear your name, how many years you have served as the annual conference secretary, whether you are clergy or laity, whether you are an employee of the annual conference or you're serving in a volunteer elected capacity only. And if perhaps somehow you stumbled into this room and you are not an annual conference secretary, what is your role? What brought you to spend 3 days with us talking through the annual conference secretary's handbook and the book of discipline? So those questions are there and they'll be in the chat. In order to get us through an order of going through who's going to go where, I have printed up the list of attendees and the registrations that you have done, and I'm just simply going to go down that list and invite you to unmute yourself at that point and answer those questions and let us hear from you. If there is anybody who's on here that did not make this list, I'll ask for that at the end and we'll update the list for you. So first up is Joy Barrett.
Hello, friends. My name is Joy Barrett. I'm from the Michigan Annual Conference. This is year 5 for me as the Annual Conference Secretary. I am a clergy person, ordained elder. I am a volunteer. I think that covers the list. Thank you, Gary and friends.
Excellent. Welcome. Cynthia Patterson is up next.
Hi, I'm Cindy Patterson. I'm from the East Ohio Annual Conference. I am in my 10th year as conference secretary. I am a clergy, I'm an ordained deacon, and I am a stipend volunteer.
And we do know the difference between that and the employee status. Hopefully that is the case. If perhaps they just give you a really nice Christmas gift at the end of the year, that still counts as volunteer elected status. So next up is Meredith Ernest.
Well, good morning, friends. You'll hear my manual printing in the background, so I hope it's not too distracting. But this is my first year as conference secretary in the South Georgia Annual Conference, and I am a layperson, and I also am an employee of the annual conference.
Excellent. And you said you are in the middle of a bad thunderstorm, so.
I am in the middle of a bad thunderstorm, so lots of distractions today, but I'm safe inside.
That's good. Shirley DeLarn.
Good morning. I am in my 8th year, almost 9th year as secretary of the Pacific Northwest Annual Conference. I'm an ordained elder, and I guess that's what you want to know. Thank you very much.
Are you employee status or are you?
I'm a volunteer.
Excellent.
I'm a volunteer.
Perfect.
Thank you.
No trouble. Karen from Alaska.
I'm Karen Martin Titchener. As Gary just said, I'm from Alaska. I'm volunteer. This is my 3rd year, and I didn't know there was such a thing as training to be an annual conference secretary. So I've been wading through muck and mud, and I'm thrilled to be here. Yeah, that's me.
Excellent. Welcome to the muck and mud with the rest of us. Exactly right. Robert Amundsen. And Sarah, if you can watch, Robert's on here, but he's muted. We will circle back to Robert if we can get him back online. Jackie Ford.
Good morning. I'm Jackie Ford from Peninsula Delaware Conference, and this is my 5th year serving as the annual conference secretary. I'm an ordained elder, and I didn't know there was such a title, but I am a stipend, I guess, volunteer as well. So thank you.
Yeah, generally that's a 1099 if anybody's asking. So.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. You're right.
That's right. You got it. John Wilson.
Hi, I'm John Wilson. I'm not sure how to count last year's, whether that was the 26th year or the 25th year, but I've been conference secretary in the Western Pennsylvania Conference for 25 years plus, and I am less than full-time elder on staff in the position.
Excellent. Good to see you, John. I will say probably for most of us last year felt like it was 25 years long. So who knows how we'll count that. Amy Haynes is up next.
Hi, I'm Amy Haynes from West Ohio Annual Conference, and this is year 4 for me as Annual Conference Secretary. I am an ordained elder, and I am a volunteer.
Bob Rhodes.
Good morning, friends. My name is Bob Rhodes. I've been serving for, this is my 3rd year as the Annual Conference Secretary for the California Pacific Annual Conference. I am a volunteer, so like all of you who are also volunteers, it means I'm also serving full-time, serving a local church.
Terry Goodman is up next.
I serve Holston Annual Conference. This is my 3rd year as the secretary, and I am an employee of the annual conference.
Excellent. Kevin Rice-Myers.
Hi, I'm Kevin Rice-Myers from Wisconsin. I'm an ordained elder. I have been a conference secretary. This is now my 24th year out of the last 32. First started in 1989, and the job keeps coming back like a boomerang. And I am a full-time employee of the annual conference and also serve as the executive secretary of the Board of Ordained Ministry.
Lots of us wear multiple hats, so we totally understand that part of it. Susan Reeves is up next. Are you seeing Susan on here, Sarah? Okay, so we'll be back to Susan if she makes it. Shelley Smith, let's hear from you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Shelley Smith. I'm serving the Greater New Jersey Annual Conference. I'm just so glad to hear all those years of service. I have people I can contact. I was voted in October. So this training time is perfect because I've been deep in mud and muck, but finding a way to swim through it. I'm a stipend volunteer.
Excellent. Yeah, at some point we just stop swimming and just pray that we can get the straw up above the surface is really all we go for at that point. Beth Gardner. Sarah about to give me the shaking of head. Got it. Clark Atkins.
Hi, I'm Clark Atkins, and I'm with the Arkansas Annual Conference, and this is my 2nd year. I'm an ordained elder, and I am a volunteer, and sometimes I get mileage reimbursement.
Woo!
There's not been much driving these days, right? So
I was going to say the only mileage I've had is like to walk to the other end of the hallway. So I don't know how we do that, if we can convert steps into mileage, but we may come up with a brand new legal question for the IRS today. The biggest difference between the employee and the volunteer is you don't get as much per mile. That's always the fun part to deal with on that one. So Walker, you're up next.
I'm Walker Bro. This is my first year as annual conference secretary for Minnesota. I am laity, and the conference secretary role is like a third of my job at the conference.
Well, on paper. And it depends
yes, everything's on paper.
That's right. And it depends on where we are in the year or what year we are in the quadrennium. You got it. Rebecca, let's hear from you next.
I am, it says Court Street UMC on there, but I'm Rebecca Dunger Peak. I'm from the Missouri Annual Conference. I am a ordained elder, clergy of courts, and I am a volunteer.
Excellent. Sarah, do you want to do the rename? Bingo. Jacqueline Hines is next. Or not. And the other piece I'll let you know is I have whatever name is on here as your full name. So if that is not a name that you are used to seeing on your Christmas cards or your gift tags, I will apologize now, but at some point someone gave that to you, so we'll use it every now and then. Kim Ingram. I don't think I've seen Kim's name. Part of being in the multiple hats and multiple roles is they're also on other Zoom meetings. So they may be popping in and out. That was what was happening with Robert. So he'll be with us at the end of the session. Ethan Carnes.
Hi there, I'm Ethan Carnes. I'm the conference secretary for the Illinois Great Rivers Annual Conference. This is my first year, ordained elder and stipend employee of the conference. Seems like that's a running thing in this meeting.
Yeah, it's one of those cases of every category is a new category, and it sort of is how people are when they walk up to the registration desk and they swear to you that they're clergy, but you know that they are supply. So nobody knows what category they are at some point along the way, I'm sure. Margaret Howe is up next. And I'm not seeing Margaret or hearing Margaret. David Russell.
Here.
There you are.
All right, yes, I'm David Russell. I am in my 10th year as the conference secretary for the once and not much longer Memphis conference, as we are approaching a relaunch joint with the Tennessee conference. I am, as of July 1, retired elder in the Memphis conference. I'm a volunteer.
Perfect. So lots of transitions, and several folks on here have been through that. Next up is Mickey McCandless. There's Mickey. All right, Mickey, try it now.
Okay.
There you
yes,
go.
I got it to respond. Sorry for the
no
delay. I'm Mickey McCandless, Rio, Texas, conference secretary. I'm ordained elder, a volunteer.
Perfect.
And I've been doing this for about 5 years.
All right, Monica.
Hi, friends. My name is Monica Mowdy. I'm an ordained elder, as David said, in the soon to no longer exist Tennessee Conference. This is my 5th year as annual conference secretary, and I am a volunteer.
Perfect. Cindy Weaver.
Hello, I'm Cindy Weaver from the Susquehanna Annual Conference in Central and Northeast Pennsylvania. I'm in my 3rd year doing conference secretary work. I'm a part-time employee for our conference and also receive a stipend as conference secretary.
Great. John Blackadar.
Yes, I am a retired elder. First elected conference secretary in 1975. Except for 10 years when I retired, I thought I was done. This is my 36th year as a conference secretary in New England, and I am a stipended individual.
So John, you just took a gap decade. Is that what it was?
Yes, I retired and thought I could be done. but the new bishop came looking for me. I don't know who clued him in, but
it happens.
It does.
That is exactly right. Laura, you are up next. Laura Bartlett.
Hello, everyone. My name is Laura Jakewith Bartlett from the Oregon-Idaho Annual Conference. I literally had to count on my fingers to make sure this was right, but I'm starting my 17th year. Although following John, that sounds like I'm a raw beginner. I am an ordained deacon. The employee or volunteer thing is a bit of a tender subject at this moment. In terms of wearing other hats, I am starting my 2nd year as the Board of Ordained Ministries administrative coordinator. And in that position, I am conference staff. As the conference secretary, I am not considered conference staff, but I do get a stipend. So there is that.
There is always that. That's right. Did Diedrich Hauser make it? I've not seen his name, I don't think. All right, Mark Worf, you're up.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mark Worf, 3rd year at California, Nevada. I'm a retired elder serving as a volunteer.
Russell Hall.
Hey, Gary and everyone. I'm Russell Hall. I am the secretary of the annual conference for the Texas Annual Conference. I think my math is right. I think I've had the position. I started off as an assistant and joined y'all for training a decade ago, but then I took over somebody's term and I'm in my 2nd term. So I think it's a total of 8 years in the position right now, Gary, moving into year 9. And I am a volunteer, but I was actually voluntold to get started, as I think we probably all were. And I think that's it. Thanks.
Sure thing. Yeah, there's a whole lot of that happens. And if your math is off, this is the one place it really doesn't matter. We're all just kind of in it together. Really, you're starting to see the real category would be brand new, been doing it a while, been doing it as long as John. So those really are our 3 buckets that we all fit in along the way. Tammy Coleman is up next.
Hello, everybody. I'm Tammy Coleman from the Kentucky Conference, and I would be in the brand new, although this is my 2nd year as conference secretary. I am a clergy serving a local church, but part-time, I guess, also conference staff. Get a little bit to do the work we're doing. So it's good to be with y'all today.
Very good. Jen Lambert is up.
Good morning all. Jen Lambert, Desert Southwest Conference. I have been annual conference secretary for 3 years, but we've had multiple annual conferences in that short period of time. I'm an ordained elder, serve a local church, so I am also a stipend by the Desert Southwest Conference.
Yes, Jen, we are totally aware of the getting elected and having multiples. I have the odd distinction of being secretary of the general conference for almost a full quad now and haven't had a normal general conference yet. So it's one of those, who knows how long it will be before that happens.
We can
We all,
together.
that's right, we are all mucking through it as we go. Don Ann Weber.
Good afternoon. I'm Dawn Ann Weber from North Georgia Conference. I'm ordained clergy, an elder in retired status, a volunteer, elected position in my 26th year.
So, John, she's about to give you a run for your money.
This will be my last year.
That sounded rather emphatic.
It's time. It's time.
Well, thank you for wonderful service. Nitsa is up next.
Hi, everyone. I am Nitsa Wensbach, and I am a conference secretary for the Iowa Annual Conference. This is my second quadrennium. And I think one of the things that's being shared is whether you are conference staff or not. I am considered conference staff with a very, 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 very little allocation of time. And what I find is that a lot of the conference secretary duties are spread amongst different roles in our conference.
And that's exactly what we'll be talking about as far as context. And that's one of the reasons we're asking that question, is it helps us to know as we talk with one another, who's in a very similar situation and who's in a different situation, and who may be learning something here because you have the title, but in your annual conference, that duty has been handed to someone else. But ultimately, you're responsible for whether they did it or not. And so we'll be talking through all of that as we go. Leah Coleman next.
Hi, everyone. My name is Leah Coleman, and I'm the secretary for the Mountain Sky Conference. This is my first year, and I am a volunteer.
Excellent. And how long has Mountain Sky been in existence?
We too are our newly merged conference.
That's right. So
yes.
You're at that launching portion. And you've got the interesting distinction, some others have been through this, of two annual conferences that were in existence when delegations had to be elected. And so merging along the way, but still being separate, but being together, and some of that process that still, we didn't think it was going to go quite this long, but it is. So
yes,
that's where we are. Nan K. Skinner.
Greetings. I'm Nan K. Skinner, an elder in the Great Plains Annual Conference, and privileged to be sitting in the great state of Nebraska that is covered with 15 inches of snow. Happy Zooming.
So lunch on the deck is not in your future then?
Not until I go out and shovel it.
Excellent.
We got 12, man. Sorry, this is Nitsa. We got like 12 inches.
It's coming.
It's coming your way.
Yep. I am, as I said, I am an elder. I am a volunteer. This is my 5th year as conference secretary. And the quote unquote stipend that I get is that I get my room paid for at annual conference.
Wow, that's quite generous.
Especially when it's online.
Oh yeah, that really does alter that that gift bag right there. We'll see what we can work out on that. Kevin Zilberzon.
Hi, I'm Kevin Silberzon from the Baltimore Washington Conference. I'm in my 2nd year as annual conference secretary. I am lay, and I am a volunteer.
Excellent, good to see you. I think I saw Tom Dolph. Is that Tom? Are you on?
I am.
Ah, good.
Tom Dolph from Louisiana, where it's sunny and 72. In my fourth-ish year as conference secretary, clergy, technically a volunteer.
I know how that technically goes. That's right. That is the list of who I have who serve as annual conference secretaries according to the Ezra database. And this is one of those moments where I want to sort of merge into something we're going to talk about a little bit later, but use this as a good moment of example. There are some folks who have registered to be part of this track that either are here, I'm assuming because they are on conference staff or an assistant secretary, but may not be listed in Ezra. If I go through this next list and you actually are serving as the annual conference secretary, that means that we do not have current information in Ezra for you. So we need to make sure that we handle that at the end of this process. The first person that I have in this category is Diane. Diane, you are with the Northern Illinois Annual Conference, I believe. Is Diane on here?
I'm Randy Hayes is the newly elected Northern Illinois Annual Conference Secretary.
You got it. And you took over for Deborah.
Yeah.
But you,
well, I will be taking over for Deborah.
Or will be taking over. Very good.
Yes.
So is Diane one of your staff members? Is that why she was registered for this track?
I have no idea. I'm totally a volunteer, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 3 hours west of Chicago and the office. And
well, I'm going to let you know that you may be meeting Diane, who's your communications specialist.
oh, okay. I haven't even, I've had a couple phone conversations with the assistant to the bishop.
Got it.
About the position. And I was voluntold also, Russell.
And you have the distinct honor of having one of those interim appointment bishops at the moment. So
yes.
We're settling in, I'm sure.
Yes.
Got it. Jan Polson with Oklahoma, are you on the line? I'm not seeing it. So these are folks who evidently thought they wanted to be with us, but decided better of it. So Kathy Tricopin, and Bob, she works with you. Is that correct?
You talking about Kathy Cap?
I have Kathy Trcopan, Executive Secretary to the Treasurer, registered for the Conference Secretary track.
Then maybe that's a different Bob. That's not a name I'm familiar with at CalPAC.
All right. The wonders of registration. It's always fun. Randy, we have Be Stuck with Dakotas. Or Stucky?
Yeah, this is B. Stucky.
Stucky, okay.
Yes, and I am a coordinator at the annual conference in the Dakotas, and I have been, I represent the other side, like you described. I have been supporting the annual conference secretary for the last 8 years. So we're a small conference, so the conference staff is helping out where they can for those positions.
Excellent. Well, welcome to the crowd.
Thank you.
Sure. Arlene Christopherson. Arlene, again, is Randy one of your crew from Northern Illinois?
She's not on. She's the assistant to the bishop, but she's not on.
Okay. And that is everyone that I have who registered. Is there anybody that we have missed that you are on the call, but I did not have you on the registration forms? Or is Robert Amundsen back with us from his other meeting to do his introduction? If not, I'll let you know what I know. Robert is the secretary for the Redbird Missionary Annual Conference. He does serve on some of the other roles that are being trained today. So, oh, he's waving at us. So his iPad went off while he's on his other computer.
I'm here, Gary. Sorry.
There you go. No problem.
Hello, everyone. I'm Robert Amundsen. I'm the conference secretary for the Redbird Missionary Conference, soon to be the Central Appalachian Missionary Conference. This is my 5th year, going into 6th year as annual conference secretary. I am an ordained elder. I'm actually the last ordained elder of the Redbird Missionary Conference. And I serve in a local church as well as serve as the secretary of the Board of Ordained Ministry. And I apologize, I missed earlier when Gary yelled at me. I'm actually sitting in a conference operational team meeting and another Zoom meeting, trying to get all 3 covered at once. It's kind of hard, but glad to be with everybody. Thank you, Gary.
No problem. We're all juggling and multitasking in multiple ways. So thanks for being with us. Jim Lambert asked about a directory or list of conference secretaries. Yes, we can do that. We can post that at the end of the process. We'll pull that from Ezra, and sometime in the next 2 or 3 days, we'll get that for you. Sarah, are you making notes of things that we're going to grab? Excellent, thank you. As we get started, I wanted to just kind of give you an overview of what's going to be unfolding. If you have looked at the wonderful spreadsheet that we were given in the blocks format, I went back and recolor coded mine into other colors, as most of you probably do, to take somebody else's organization and make it your own. Wanted to let you know how the sessions are going to break down this afternoon. After lunch, we will be looking at the primary focus of what are your responsibilities in relation to the annual conference. So the first portion will be items in preparation or items throughout the session of annual conference. We'll take our break and then come back for the second portion, and that'll be whatever we didn't get finished in the first half. And then looking at anything that would come as a follow-up responsibilities that need to happen as a result of the annual conference session. Tomorrow morning, our first session starts at 10 a.m. Central Time, which is 11 for those of us in the Eastern time zone. And for those of you in the Mountain or West, I pray for you every time we set a meeting time, because to get it to your normal time, some of the rest of us start to be in the dinner hour, which starts to bleed over into the world that Sarah and I live in every day. We have everyone from the West Coast of the US to the Philippines, and that ranges almost the entire time zone options. So we always have to be terribly careful and know that we're getting some people up before coffee is even prepared, and others are well into our bedtimes just to be on a meeting together. So tomorrow morning we start out at 10 Central, and we will do a review of paragraphs in the Book of Discipline that have to do with your responsibilities, focusing primarily on the ones that do not fall in one of the other areas that we're going to be touching, but just a general overview there. What you will find is the role of secretary is not one that was built into the Book of Discipline so that there would be one page that you turn to and see everything you're supposed to do. It's much like Secretary of the General Conference or Secretary of the Jurisdictional Conference, in that everything that we do is scattered throughout the book. And so over the years of developing this manual, they have done pretty well about gathering together all of the relevant pieces and even a couple pieces that we may even scratch our heads and wonder why it made the list, but it's there. And so we will go through it. The second session of the morning will be on journals and record keeping, anything that you need to think about in regard to that. We'll take the lunch break, and then the afternoon sessions will be a part 1 and a part 2 related to general conference or jurisdictional conference communications and responsibilities, and how you plug into that particular situation. On the third day, starting to think that I'm in Easter season, but on the third day, we will have one session only. And on that session, we'll do wrap-up questions of anything that we haven't really touched, but is a burning thing that has been on your mind and you would like to raise it. We will talk about the particulars that have come about in regard to electronic meetings, and some of you call them virtual gatherings or whatever the terminology in your area is, and we'll be thinking through some best practices on that particular situation, and then anything that Sarah and I are able to share with you about the work of Postponed General Conference and its relationship to your work and the timelines that are coming. I will tell you that that will not be a session that you will get a lot of answers to, but we may hear a lot of questions because right now so much of that is still in flux. And so we are all adapting into it. You heard Bishop Harvey talk about the multiple pieces that are all still coming together. Just to let you know, as far as what I think would be helpful for you to have handy, the AC Secretary Manual, I would suggest if you have it either digitally where you can look at a second screen and follow along, or go ahead and print it out as we had happening already. I could hear some of those and watch some of you reaching over to printers along the way, but however you are comfortable. I'm a paper person when it comes to something like that, so I would have a printer going. I would have the Book of Discipline handy. I'll be using the 2016, the most recent version. And then if you have one handy, I would have the annual conference journal, or specifically the annual conference standing rules if you don't have the whole thing, but just so we can talk through some of those pieces. Nan, Sarah has put that in the chat. If you want to scroll back up, you can see the website for the Secretary's Manual, or it just popped right back in there for you again. So as we go into the next session, before we start it, I will let you know about flow and how we want to do communicating back and forth, but we'll save it to that time. Thank you for letting us know your situations and the context in which you serve. It is helpful as I think through the framework of what would be beneficial, and as you start to ask one another questions, it's probably best if you share what fits in your situation as opposed to the answer to in relation to the question that somebody has asked in their situation. So if they are a full-time staff person who has 4 staff members and they're wanting to know, but yet I'm working from home and I do it all by myself, my context may not be able to let me give an answer or an idea to that. It doesn't necessarily mean that you can't creatively think and jump right in and give a suggestion, but let's try to keep things together as far as context goes. Sarah, any words of housekeeping that we need to do before we take the lunch break?
Yes, so just a reminder that we are recording the sessions. So if you have a particular situation that might be of a sensitive matter, feel free to just let me know through direct message, or we can reach out to Gary or myself. Probably Gary can answer it better than me in this context, but you can reach out and we can talk with you separately. And that way it's not in a recording that somebody watches later, but just a reminder that we are being recorded.
The alternative to that would be if it is something that we all need to discuss as a group, but it does not need to be recorded, then we may pause the recording. We do have the ability to do that. We're trying not to do that for anything that is applicable to someone who might come along as some of you did and get appointed or get elected mid-quadrennium, this is one of the resources that we'll be giving them, that they can go back and look at sessions and hear the discussions. This introductory one probably is one they'll fast forward through, like most of us do commercials, but that's the way we have, and I felt like we needed to get to see one another and hear from one another before we jumped in and started talking discipline paragraphs and titles of books and everything else. So thank you for your attention. Enjoy your lunch break, and we will see you back in an hour and 15 minutes. Bye-bye.